Hey Michelle, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Joy. Thank you for having me today. My goodness, to talk about myself. I feel like I'm like an onion in Shrek. Like
Uh-huh.
there's so many layers.
I love that. Let's peel the onion.
Um, well, I'm born and raised in LA, and I live in LA, which is kind of rare.
Yes.
I grew up in the Valley. Grew up in a very artsy household. My mom was a singer and a dancer. My brother was a musician and tried to be a rock star for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh,
And so just like my whole life was around the arts, it's kind of shaped who I am today.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I met you because you were the founder of Ballerinas. So can you tell us about, is this like a
Yeah.
nonprofit you created?
Right now it's a proprietorship.
Uh-huh.
It's Ballerinas of Los Angeles, and I created it when I just moved to LA, and I realized, when I was living in New York, there was just such a strong dance community of ballet dancers, and especially classical artists, as well as modern dancers. And I noticed that in LA, it was kind of lacking that community. And so I wanted to highlight the amazing dancers in Los Angeles. And that's how I created Ballerinas of Los Angeles. And
That's awesome.
tried to advocate for, not really advocate, advertise their
As well.
their
Yeah.
show, yeah, their shows and just the goings on of ballet in Los Angeles because our advertisements aren't quite as known and profound as like maybe the Hammer Museum where you see like banners all throughout West LA for
That's
the
true.
Hammer Museum, but you never really see that for LA Ballet or American Contemporary Ballet.
Because it's kind of like you know how like in New York they have just two main ballet companies.
Yeah.
In Southern California, there's just like a few of them,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
there's like a new ballet company called Hollywood Ballet.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Petra and her husband started that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd
Uh-huh.
love to see
Yeah,
them.
yeah. So I went to actually the inaugural like performance.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Good.
they did like excerpts from La Bayadere, Kingdom Shades. They did
Oh,
some of that. So
it's beautiful.
not like all of the dancers, but like some parts of it. So that was really beautiful. And yeah, just like something from like Swan Lake, Carmen, and some
Yeah.
like modern pieces as well.
Oh,
So and also
beautiful.
a little bit from like Giselle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was at the theater in Santa Monica. Santa Monica
Oh,
College, they have like a
like
performance
the Pro
theater.
Theater.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what kind of like when did you start ballet?
I started ballet for ballet dancers quite late. I was about 11, 12 years old.
Okay.
I originally did musical theater. And when I was doing musical theater as a kid, they told me that I needed to learn dance, like proper dance, like ballet and
Right.
jazz and tap. So that's when I got into ballet and jazz and tap
Oh,
on
okay.
top of my acting classes and my singing classes. But then the recession hit, and my parents told me to choose one. So I chose ballet, and I had a mentor there that really believed that I could become a professional dancer and really go very far in my career. And so from that, I kind of just focused more on ballet and always had musical theater in my mind as maybe something I do in the future.
Yeah.
Um,
Like cats?
yeah, I like cats or Wicked, like one of the monkeys.
What's your favorite part? Like, what would be your favorite role to play in a musical?
Oh my God. Probably, honestly, like The Lion King or something.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, there's so many dance roles and it's just so fun,
Like the main,
exciting.
which one is your favorite song?
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah. You
Um,
want to sing us a little bit?
oh my God, no, not,
I
not
was about to say,
today.
like, my favorite would be cats. I want to audition for that, like, and make more
Yeah,
of myself. Yeah, so I think cats is my favorite.
I love
But
that.
I love liking as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's so many good ones.
there are.
And so you started like ballet, and how long you did that? Like, what did you get to what role did you get to perform?
So I performed in school for a while because I then enrolled in, my local ballet studio, and then during when I went to high school, I enrolled in another ballet studio that was a little bit closer to my high school. So I traveled about 45 minutes to go to performing arts high school where I studied ballet and theater, and I kind of went back a little bit into it,
Right.
but then when I was accepted into the Joffrey Ballet School, my senior year, I then just went full focus into the whole ballet world.
Oh,
And
wow. And is it hard to get in? Is it competitive?
um yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it
being
is.
honest. So, so what did you like? What kind of ballets did you get to perform at?
I got to perform, my goodness, of course, the Nutcracker.
Uh-huh.
What did we do? Oh, I have to remember. I remember we did some contemporary ballet pieces with Earl Mosley uh from Ailey, and then we did Don Quixote.
Yeah, yeah.
Quixote.
Yeah.
My goodness, what did we do our first year? I can't remember. We did a few.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure you did a lot. And so what would be, the role you wanted to dance in?
Oh my God. For me, it was probably like Swan Lake, Odette, Odile.
Yeah, yeah.
More
For sure.
Odette than probably Odile, just
Yeah.
because as much as I love Odile and I absolutely love the character, even though she's, the bad guy, the antagonist, I am not a turner at all whatsoever. I'm a jumper and adagio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh, uh-huh. I hear you. Yeah, because that
Yeah.
was how many turn it is for the Odile role?
I think it's 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 32 fuertes. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I mean, even at the top of my career, the cleanest I could do is like 16 and then, fall over and then get back up.
Yeah, I mean, like, because you have to do it within like a small radius. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was leaning more towards Odette just because it's more pas de deux based, more adagio. There's a little bit of jumping at the end
Right.
of the ballet.
And the
Uh,
music is so beautiful.
Yeah, or I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's so beautiful. So definitely, I don't know, like watching. I
Yeah.
love like John Quixote and
Uh-huh.
uh, like Paquita,
Mhm.
but dancing, I love the classics.
Yeah, me too.
Giselle as well. Oh my god,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just would have loved to have been Giselle because I love all of like the whole heartbreak and
Yeah.
just like running around going crazy.
And the
Uh,
costume. Right?
yes.
It's just like such a beautiful romantic ballet.
Yeah. And you
Right.
get to hide a little bit more under the long skirt.
Oh, that's true. I mean, like that's one of my favorite part of the ballet. Is just like also most of the classic ballet is the tutu,
Yes,
and then
yeah.
that one is
Very exposed.
yeah, and that was like more romantic. It's almost like a modern ballet, right? It's kind of like a serenade. Remember had the
Oh,
long.
It's
tutu?
funny you
Yeah.
say that because the original was the long tutu, and then they went to the pancake tutu, and then I guess Sarah and I kind of brought back that
Right,
classical.
right, right. And it's also a very, very beautiful.
I love Serenade.
Yeah.
I got to do that when I was at the Indianapolis Ballet, and
Oh, you were there. Okay.
yes, and
Tell us more about that.
it was honestly the most rewarding and beautiful ballet I ever gotten to do because the ensemble or the corps de ballet gets to dance so much.
Right.
Whereas like as much as I love Swan Lake, the corps de ballet is dying most of the time. Even though you are dancing, there's also a lot of standing and then
Right.
you go numb, and or at least I always went numb.
Yeah, I remember. You're like, you have to keep yourself warm.
Yeah, I got it every time I did the corps de ballet for Swan Lake. At least like one time I would get injured,
Uh-huh.
and I did it
Oh,
three
dear.
times in my career. So every time I did it, I got injured.
So would you explain to the audience who are, not professional like ballet dancers, what's a corps de ballet like?
Oh, the corps de ballet is like the ensemble. So kind of like, if you saw musical theater or maybe even like a Taylor Swift concert, the backup dancers basically
Okay,
to the main character.
I see. So like within the ballet company, what kind of roles there are other than is this the principal dancer?
Yeah, there's the principal dancer, the soloist, character dancers. Those are usually more like closer to retirement dancers where they're like, they're about to retire kind of thing. And so they still do the character roles.
I see.
For instance, like Copelia, like
Uh-huh.
maybe the doll maker. I forgot his name.
Yeah,
Maybe it might be one of them, or
Oh, that's
even in
fun, yeah.
Cinderella or something, it might be one of the men that like plays the step sisters or something,
Yeah.
and they're
right.
closer to retirement. Although I've seen like they have like young dancers who just like came out of school do the stepsisters too. So I don't know. It goes both ways.
And I remember we were talking about how like in serenade, it's like everybody gets dance, like even for the ballet, because typically it's the principal dancer they get most of the attention, right? So
Yeah.
so for the ballet
Exactly.
to perform for serenade. So like, were your like so did you when did you know like you kind of want to like just keep it as a hobby instead of going on the professional rounds? Or
Do you want the long story?
yes, please. We have plenty of time.
Oh gosh. Well, when I was dancing, I actually suffered through a lot of depression. Um, and so I struggled a lot with my not only my confidence, but just like my inner struggles of never being good enough. I mean, I think it was mostly because I started late. My technique was never really quite where everyone else was at my age. I was kind of always a little bit behind.
What would be the typical age to start?
Being a professional or
Just like when you notice
starting
when you're
ballet?
dancing, yeah.
I think latest people should start if they want to be professional, probably 8 or 9.
Okay.
Like right before you hit puberty, a couple years, just so you could get the foundation. But you're also like you have the attentiveness of an 8-year-old more than when you're 5 and 6. It's a lot of fun, but you're not really focused.
Yeah, you couldn't focus for extended period of
Yeah,
time.
especially having taught 2 to 7-year-olds, it's quite a challenge. Versus once I got to teach like 8, 9-year-olds, it was a lot more exciting because they actually, they took in the information and they applied it.
Right.
Versus the younger they were, it was such a mess. But yeah, so I think like 8 is like a good age for kids to start. Before puberty for sure.
Okay.
Because I was about to hit puberty when I started, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're never gonna make it to be a professional." And I had so many people tell me not to even try.
Right.
So for me, I like started late, and
Right.
that's why I didn't even try to apply to companies when I was 18. I applied only to schools because everyone told me that I need to finish up my training and get better. And I mean, honestly, I really needed it because when I look
Right.
at like videos and pictures of myself at 18, I was like, oh my God,
But
I look like
everybody
a
does that.
14-year-old.
But you still dedicated like 6 years of your life to
Yes.
dancing.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of commitment.
Yeah, professionally, yeah.
But like so if you want to be a professional dancer, you kind of have to make a decision at what age that you just like do professional ballet.
Young.
Just going to like a ballet school because you went to like still you went
Yeah.
to like a normal school, I would say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went to like a local ballet school. So, some people became professionals, some
Right.
people, but most of the people, went off to college and like
Yeah,
did the
yeah.
normal thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I think only 4 of us, out of like my class, became like professionals.
Okay. Like how big was the class?
Very small.
Okay.
I mean, that was my first studio, I guess, that I
Yeah,
went to. The other one had more students that became
Yeah.
professionals. But yeah, my first school that I started with, yeah, it was maybe 8 to 10 girls, and
Yeah.
4 of us went off and became professionals, and then the rest, we're normal people.
Yeah, I was just saying like because some of the dancers they didn't go to like a normal high school, they just go to they just
Yeah.
go to like ballet schools, right?
Yeah.
Like New York City Ballet, isn't it American Ballet Theater, they have like a ballet school.
Yeah.
And then so
Yeah.
those people they just never like they just dance full time. They didn't really do
Yeah.
like high school or anything.
Yeah.
So and you decided to just to keep it as a hobby, and and then you just graduated from UC Santa Barbara. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about like just your college life in Santa Barbara? How's
Yeah,
that different from
definitely.
Los Angeles?
Quite different. I mean, when I first started college, I was 26. So it was quite, most of my peers were between 18 to 21,
Uh-huh.
maybe 22 if they were doing a fifth year when we started our quarter system.
Right.
And so it was quite different. Like just age gap, big age gap. And I for a long time I felt like I didn't fit in, and but once I made I made very good friends where they didn't really care that I was older, and those are the people that I'm honestly still friends with today.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And what did you study at?
I studied political science.
Uh-huh.
So, with an emphasis on international relations, because when I first went into college, I really wanted to do trade,
Yeah.
and I really believed in the ideology that is common within political science that um, that trade brings peace to
Right.
nations,
Right.
and it keeps us connected. And when we have dependency within each other or
Right.
amongst each other, uh, there's less reason for us to go to war, because if we go to war, then it disrupts the economic cycle, and so I really believed in that, and I knew I didn't really quite have the math brain to go through the economics of it, but I knew I had the diplomatic brain or diplomacy brain for political science. So
That's awesome.
I started there.
Yeah, I remember you were very passionate about, all these political issues.
Yeah,
And
I had lots to say.
yeah, and so you just started a new job at
Yeah.
this nonprofit organization. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I work in nonprofit and fundraising, and we help fundraise for individuals who need PTSD care, medical care, um, basically well-being. Yeah,
And
really
then,
rewarding.
yeah, and then so like, how did you get into that role from your past experience? Like, you're doing fundraising, similar activities when you were in
Yeah,
school?
when I was in ballet companies, I mean, they would often have the ballet dancers talk to donors, and
Uh-huh.
I mean, honestly, I applied to 300 jobs. I think it was close to 300 jobs.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, when I graduated from college, because I didn't actually do an internship when I was in college, because I transferred, and so they kind of trap you in the UC system. So
Oh, okay.
when you transfer, they want you to take even more classes so that you stay longer. So what I did is, in order to graduate on time, I took 2 summers of summer classes instead of having an internship where most of my friends got jobs from their internships.
Right.
So leaving college, I wasn't set up like a lot of my friends. And so I knew that I needed to apply to as many jobs as possible.
Okay.
And that's what I did for 3 months, 3.5 months. I applied to everything because I'd love, I'd love to, maybe one day go back into that idea of trade diplomacy. But I mean, I also love many different aspects, and fundraising is,
Yeah.
I think, a very special um career to do, especially when it's like something so meaningful as like PTSD and mental health and
Right.
like medical needs. Just helping people stay alive, because I know for sure for myself, I went through mental health issues when I was in ballet, and I mean,
So
most
what
of-
helped you like overcome that difficulty?
Oof.
I mean, it's a common. I think
Yeah.
that's a common theme for ballerinas because it's like an
Yes.
intense, competitive
It is.
sports, right? It is a sport.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize. It's
Yeah.
like so elegant, but yeah, it's a lot of jumping around.
No, definitely. I mean, um,
You're all like athletes.
yeah, we are.
In like pretty, tutus.
Yeah, we are athletes.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
some of my friends have the same PTs as like some of the professional athletes in LA. Like, so yeah, for me, I didn't really overcome that until I really moved to LA, and through Ballerinas of Los Angeles actually helped me
Okay.
build that confidence and trying to help other dancers. I was also in a way helping myself become more confident. And that was one of the main things that I lacked as a dancer when I was
Right.
dancing in companies. Um, and then I also made very good friends dancing in LA. It was, I think maybe because most people are freelancers
Right.
in Los Angeles, freelance dance. Um, there's less of that constant competition that you have with your colleagues in a ballet company.
Right.
So you're kind of hopping from company to company, job to job, choreographer to choreographer. And so there's a little more weirdly camaraderie. Like you
Right.
find somebody that you like to work with, and then they call you back for another project. Um, and so it's almost better in
Yeah.
my opinion because I had I had people that cared and wanted to work with me and wanted to work with our friends and um yeah it was really through that where I gained my confidence and I kind of got out of my depression. I mean, I also like moved back home, so that
Yeah.
helped a lot. My parents were extremely supportive, but also working in a much more supportive environment with
Right.
colleagues that weren't at your throat.
Huh. Yeah.
It was much easier to not be in that negative headspace.
Yeah. I mean, like, thank you for sharing that because that's,
Yeah.
I know it's a common struggle
Yeah.
for dancers.
Yeah.
And it's also like very much neglected, right? Like you don't really talk about it. It's like and when you started Ballerinas of Los Angeles, like how many members you have now?
Oh my goodness. I mean, we have around 8,000 followers on Instagram. Actually don't know how many members we technically have.
Yeah, yeah. Have you like do you have like so you organize events? Can you tell us more about what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly haven't had the chance to do events since I went to college. But before I went off to college, we had networking events. We actually had a mental health event with a family therapist who she used to also be a dancer. So
Okay.
it was very meaningful, and she understood a lot of our trials and tribulations.
Right.
We also had workshops where we got to work with like local choreographers and local like ballet celebrities.
Right.
So it was kind of building that community and that camaraderie.
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
more central or centered area.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
what would be the next events for Ballerinas of Los if something you really feel it's meaningful to do?
I'll have to let you know.
Yeah, okay. Well, keep us posted,
Yeah.
you know. Um, and so through uh this group, did you meet did you meet people through this group? Like people come to you and tell you like about, you know, their aspirations and their struggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And so do you still take dance classes?
I do. I took a bit of time off my second year of school because I honestly
School meaning like a college?
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
yes.
at my university.
Yeah.
Because I just had crazy hours. I was also involved in a lot of clubs and so my
Wait, I want to like
Oh.
ask this part because
Yeah.
you mentioned Joffrey.
Yeah.
Where is that?
Oh, okay. So I danced with the Joffrey Ballet School in New York, and then I also did a summer with the one in Chicago.
Yeah, because
That's-
it's based in Chicago.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah.
you know, like just want to explain to the audience, like so Joffrey is like a prestigious ballet school
It is.
in Chicago,
Yeah,
and it's like one of the best ballet schools in the nation.
yeah.
How
it is.
many classmates you had?
There I had, I think if you include the boys, it was around 20-ish.
20. Okay.
Yeah.
And so like how does that work? Is it like would you like to explain to the audience like is there something you enroll while you were at school? Like how does that like high school? How does that work?
Yeah, you can be in high school, or you could be just out of high school, and I think they accept up to 21.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it's like a professional ballet school.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and how long you were there for?
I was there for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there. I was at the one in New York for 2 years and the one in Chicago for a few months in the summer.
Yeah. Okay. And what was that like? Dancing in New York.
Oh my God, it
I didn't
was
know that part.
so magical. I love New York. Honestly, if my family lived there, I
Yeah.
would be back in a heartbeat.
But like, where? Like, did you live in a dorm? When you
I lived in a dorm my first year in on the Upper West Side,
Right.
and then
Is it close to Lincoln Center?
oh, I lived closer to Columbia.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was in the hundreds.
Yeah. I mean, like, still, it's
Yeah, I mean
Manhattan.
it's
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. Because I used to live close to Lincoln Center.
Oh,
That's why like, I'm
really?
trying to make a connection
Oh my
there.
God,
Yes, on 77th, West 77th.
So you're closer to Trader Joe's.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that reference.
I always went to that Trader Joe's.
Yeah. And yeah, I remember I could just like take a walk to Lincoln Center.
So amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, and then like what did you like what was that 2 years like?
It was
Dancing
amazing.
full time.
It was so magical. I went to the ballet so much. I went to my first opera.
You remember what that is?
My first opera.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember the name. But it was
It's one of
about,
it's like Aida or like
no, it was actually about Queen Elizabeth the
Okay.
first,
Uh-huh.
and her trials and tribulations with Mary,
okay.
Queen of
I didn't know
Scots.
this opera called that. It's probably one of the modern ones. Is it classical opera?
I can look it up.
Okay.
It. I think it's in Italian. The version I saw.
Okay, I see. And so what about like ballet? We must go to the ballet performances all
Oh
the
my
time.
God, I went to so many because also being students at the Joffrey, we got discounted tickets.
Right.
We just had to show our ID.
Right,
It was,
right.
It was great. So if you're a student in New York, you have to use your student ID because you can then like go to the ballet for like $25-$30.
Right, right.
It's amazing. I spent all my money.
Yeah, because typically it's like $200, right?
Yes,
For the like the
exactly.
most affordable tickets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I saw honestly, name a ballet and I probably saw it.
Yeah.
I've seen
What experience?
yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen so many ballets.
Awesome.
Modern, contemporary. I saw a lot of American Ballet Theater, a lot of New York City Ballet.
Did you see Jewels while you were there?
Yes.
Yes.
I did.
Like that's on my list. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. I want
You
to
have
see
to
them
see it.
perform it, you know?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I
Um,
loved it.
I mean, it's so magical, like just being in New York and dancing full time.
Yeah.
And then so at what point you realize like that's not something you wanted to pursue and
It wasn't until later when I was in LA and I honestly had a situation where I got injured and
that's a common struggle
Yeah.
for a lot of dancers as well, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean I guess it was even before that a little bit. I knew when I left the Indianapolis Ballet and I came to LA, I knew that I wanted to start kind of thinking of how to
Were you
Move
were
my
you with
life.
them like full time?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I
Can
was
you
there
tell us a
for
little bit
about
more?
a season.
Okay, and so is it competitive to get into a ballet company?
It is.
Like-
It's very hard.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the selection process? How did you
It's-
apply?
I don't know. To me, it's like my worst nightmare. I hate auditioning.
Oh, sorry for like yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm done with that part of my life, so it's okay.
So it's like just like
Audition.
going like audition for like movies, TV shows that you have to go for audition.
Yes.
Okay.
Except unlike maybe an acting audition where it's just you and the producers or the director in a room together.
Right.
You're in a room with maybe 50 to 100 other dancers.
Oh wow. Okay.
And you have a number, so you kind of feel like you're like cattle about to be slaughtered. They look at you
Like
by
that
number.
Right.
It's kind of, to me, it was very dehumanizing. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, my name is Michelle Lebowski. It's not number 543. Like,
Right. Right.
um,
Like
but
one of those stormtroopers.
yes, exactly. And so,
Yeah.
so you put a little pin, or you put pins on your leotard, and you're in a studio that's usually absolutely freezing. You can't wear your warm ups. You have to like be just in a leotard and tights, your point shoes. Sometimes they have point bar or or not.
Right.
I had so much anxiety that I would just do point at bar because I didn't want to take the time to put on my point shoes between bar and center. So I just do the whole thing at bar.
Yeah, yeah.
Even though it is harder, especially if I was not like dancing Balanchine style at that time.
Uh-huh.
I was like dancing for Russian style where you switch usually. And
Okay, we don't know there's a difference between Russian.
sorry.
Oh, just saying, like, well, would you elaborate a little bit more?
Yes, definitely. So there are a few different styles of ballet technique, and they're all similar, but also they all have the same base, but they have very different specific parts to them. Kind of like a cake. Like you can make the cake like a cake is a cake, but you can make it in many different ways.
Right.
So for Balanchine, it takes the classical Russian technique,
Right.
and it kind of stretches it and modernized it a bit. And it was designed by a choreographer by the name of George Balanchine, and he
Who's the founder of American Ballet Theater?
New York City.
Oh, New York City. Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
Don't worry. They're like they're just
Competitors.
yes, exactly.
Yes.
Competitors, and also just
Oh
you know.
dear God, that's like a worst mistake one could make.
Oh no! Don't worry at all. Like,
I was joking.
One's at the Met Opera, and then the other one's at the Koch Theater, which is right next door.
Yeah.
And American Ballet Theater also sometimes performs at the Koch Theater, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've been to all of them, just don't remember the specifics.
yeah.
Okay. So you were like there's like and then what's the selection process? You apply and then so how often do they recruit new dancers?
Usually every season.
So it's season. Like I mean how many seasons in a year?
There's usually one season a year.
Okay.
So most companies dance between September and June.
Yeah.
So it's or May. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a school year for maybe a college student
Uh-huh.
and any other, I guess,
Yeah.
American school.
Right.
So they usually have within the season they have like a fall show. It's usually something around like Dracula, around like Halloween kind of situation.
Right.
Or Giselle. And then they move into Nutcracker season, which is generally the end of November to December time. And then they have a little break after Nutcracker season, and then they start the winter part of the season. Sorry, all of these like little seasons are part of one big season.
Right, right. Okay. Thank you for the explanation.
I realized I was saying season a lot, and it was
No, because it's a common sense for dancers, but
Yeah.
not for like our like
exactly.
non dancers. Okay.
Yeah.
So you apply and then you go for audition.
Usually January to March.
Okay.
Or when audition.
Uh-huh. And so out of how many people they would select you?
It usually depends on what they need. So some companies, maybe they had 3 dancers retire this year.
Yeah.
Are going to retire and they need to fill in those spots,
Uh-huh.
maybe in the corps de ballet and then promote some people that are soloists or corps de ballet and move them up. And then, so it's usually based on their needs of what they can afford and who's moving in which direction and whether they're retiring or they're injured or.
So typically, like you would start with a ballet company as like I would say more junior roles, like club de ballet.
Yeah, usually there's
You don't just like parachuted as like a principal dancer,
no, unless you're
a rock star.
Maria. What's her name? Maria Kareva?
Uh-huh.
I forgot her last name. So
Is that a Russian name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
okay, I
with
remember.
Marinsky.
Yeah.
Promoted to principal at a crazy young age, something like 19 or 20.
Okay.
But most people don't have that process.
Right, and also like it's like a more like within the ballet company, you gradually make it like through soloist, and then to like principal dancer.
Yeah,
You
usually
get promoted that way.
usually most people start with the second company for the
Okay.
company, so it's
Right.
like the junior company, and they do basic roles for the company. If you're doing Giselle, like the people in the second company are going to be doing the roles of the person carrying out the basket of flowers.
Right.
My cousins are dancing. something like that.
Okay.
You're barely probably dancing in the big performances, and
Right.
then if they like you, then they choose a couple people from the second company to go to the main company.
Uh-huh.
The people that aren't chosen from there have to figure out where to go next to a different company.
Right.
So then they bring in those people. Then you're usually an apprentice from there. Then you can be in the corps de ballet. Then a soloist. Some companies have like demi soloist and first soloist,
Right.
but most people just have soloist.
How many soloists do you have, like, typically in a ballet company?
It depends on the company and what they can afford. So it could be, a range from like 2 to 10. So each company is quite different.
Yeah. What's the size of a ballet company? Like, let's say.
Also quite different.
Right.
So
it must be different. Like, what if it's a New York City ballet compared to a smaller
exactly.
regional? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like American Contemporary Ballet that's down here in Los Angeles.
Right.
I think they have about 20 dancers.
Right.
And
Is that considered like a medium size?
no, it's small.
Small. Okay.
Yeah. I think medium sized is around like 40 dancers.
What about Indiana? Like the company you were with.
Consider it like a small medium company.
Okay. So it must be. So how many people auditioned for like one role? How many people that you? So you end up being selected, right?
Yeah, once you're in the company, they choose who they want to audition for the roles. Or sometimes they already have an idea who they want to be, the executive director, the artistic director is really what we call them. Executive director are usually
Right.
the ones that deal with the money, and artistic director deals with the dancers.
Uh-huh.
And so the artistic director, and usually the ballet master and the ballet mistress, they generally choose who's going to be what role in each ballet.
Uh-huh. And so you audition, and amongst how many dancers they picked you?
For the company or for
Yeah.
for
For the company.
For the
When you
company?
audition for the season.
For I guess which company? For when I auditioned for Colorado Ballet, there were about I think 10 or 15 people in my audition. It was quite small. Same with the Atlanta Ballet.
Oh, so you dance with all of them.
I danced. Well, Atlanta Ballet was for the summer. Was the summer intensive? For Indianapolis Ballet, I couldn't. I didn't audition in person. I sent in a videotape of myself.
Okay.
So I don't know how many people auditioned for them when I was auditioning. So it kind of varies. If you're gonna audition for for instance, it's like San Francisco Ballet, you're gonna have like 1,000 people.
Right. They also have quite a large ballet company, right?
Yes,
like
they
100
do.
people.
Yeah, they have a
Like
lot.
100 dancers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the last time I checked, New York City Ballet had around 80, so
Yeah.
it's similar. It's
Yeah.
quite large.
I mean, like, I noticed like a lot of dancers they would move from one company to another.
Yeah.
Is that because like they want to like audition for specific roles? Why do people move around a lot? Why do dancers?
It varies. For instance, I'll use a friend of mine that I danced with. We were at a small company, and she was getting lead roles, but she wanted to be in a bigger company where you kind of get more benefits. You also get paid more regularly. When you're the bigger the company, usually the more stable it is. So that's when she auditioned for a much larger company. And so some people use it to move up. Some people, go from a big company to a small company so they can have those roles. They may not have like the same medical benefits, or, they're not getting all of the point shoes that they need all the time. But
Oh
they're
yeah, the
getting
point shoes is like a big part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I remember you have to sew your own point shoes.
Yes, you have to sew your own point shoes. Often, unless you're even apprentices, we didn't always get our point shoes paid for. So, and these are shoes like $100 point shoes.
Yeah, I know.
You usually go through within a week or two, unless you have crazy feet, and then you go through them like in a few
Yeah.
days.
So how many years did you dance professionally?
Um, about 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean that's quite yeah,
yeah,
many years, yeah.
yeah.
And so how did you feel like when you first started dancing, like when you first started dancing professionally compared to like towards the end? How did you notice you have changed like as a dancer?
Definitely at the end, I was a lot more jaded because once I encountered, when I was injured, I encountered a director who treated me with like a lot of disrespect, honestly. And it was kind of in that moment where I was like, I can't, I don't love this enough in order to keep dealing with such disrespectful people for such little pay. Um, like I kind of fell out of love with it because of those kind of toxic people.
Yeah,
So in the beginning, I was like, oh, there's bad people, they disrespect you. But, you then get in the end, like what you've always wanted. You always
right,
wanted to be the principal dancer and have the lead role and have all of that experience.
right. So how did you recover from that injury? Like what was the injury?
I honestly, I jumped. I did just a regular saute, and I think it was just kind of a mixture of my shoe and the floor. It just like kind of slipped,
Right.
and I fell all body weight right onto my ankle.
Oh my goodness.
Like I didn't roll. It just kind of I rolled straight onto. I tried to hit my toes and articulate through my feet, but it was just so slippery, and I went total sickle, which is like not what you're supposed to do, where you turn in your foot.
Oh,
And I landed on the top of the outer part of my ankle on my right side. And when I got up, I was like, oh, I'm fine, no worries. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't move my ankle because it started to swell so much. It
right.
became like 3 times the size.
My goodness.
And I was like, I'm fine, because the swelling kind of numbs the pain a little bit.
Right.
There's so much blood in that area. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize for honestly a few days how injured I was. I was like, oh, the swelling will go down. I'm totally fine. And then honestly, once the swelling went down, it was quite painful.
That
And I
was when the pain, yeah.
yeah. But I went to physical therapy that a good friend of mine told me to go, physical therapist that my friend told me to go to, and she really helped me recover. I started taking classes slowly but surely.
How long did the process take? And did the ballet company help you through it?
No, the director blamed my fall on me, and she told me, honestly, it was like a really bad experience. She told me I fell because I was a bad dancer.
Oh my goodness, that was harsh. It's like a
She screamed at me for like half an hour on the phone. Um, that evening when I told her that, like, my physical therapist like told me that I won't be able to dance in the Nutcracker, and I was dancing the role of Clara, and I was very excited because it was like,
yeah, that was a big break
yeah, it's the first time,
for you.
because when I moved back to LA, I was mostly doing contemporary ballet.
Okay.
So all of the roles I was doing, whether they were like principal or not, they weren't very recognizable to my peers or like my family members. Like everyone
Right.
knows the Nutcracker and Clara.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so when I got this role, I was so excited. But yeah, basically the director hired me to do it, and she kept praising me for such a long time, and she was so supportive of me. And
Yeah.
I thought that we were that we were on good terms.
Right.
And then as soon as I was injured, she basically treated me with a lot of disrespect and told me that I was a terrible dancer and that I fell because I was bad at dancing, and that like I don't know, she just went on a whole long um
So how did you, how long did it, for you to recover? How long did it take?
mentally or physically.
Yeah, that's a good, wow, that's a very good question. Like,
um Mentally faster than physically, because that was when I really decided. I was like, I'm never gonna dance for anyone that's not my good friend.
uh-huh.
For instance, I have a very good friend who has this very small ballet company and kind of does performances as whenever she has the funds to do it. We have a performance, and basically, I told myself I would only ever work with friends again that I knew would never hurt me like that.
Right.
Um, physically, it took me about 7 months to heal. I started going back to class around 6 months after, but I couldn't jump or really do anything off of the bar for
Right.
another month. So,
And
so
during that like healing process,
mhm.
um you had to just like rest, right? You
Yeah,
couldn't dance or do anything else.
it was very painful.
And then it's common for dancers to go through injuries like that.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you like I think when you created Ballerinas Los Angeles, it was also from your personal experience. You want to create a community,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah,
help,
definitely.
yeah, dancers. And so you said like the physical therapy helps you a lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and I do like I heard that like some dancers after they retire from dancing, they become like physical therapists.
Yeah, a lot of them
Yeah.
do because they know exactly what they went through in their career, and we learn a lot about the body and the anatomy of the body and how it works and how to fix it. And so it is very common for dancers to become physical therapists.
And so like was it like after the injury you decided to yeah, having second thoughts of keeping like dancing professionally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's understand. And at least like are you fully recovered from that injury?
I am.
Okay.
It's been about 3 years now. So I'm recovered. It's still weak because I tore a bunch of ligaments.
Uh-huh.
So it's not, my right ankle is not the same as my left, but
But can you still dance like can you still dance professionally, or it's just like you can function as a normal person but you just can't function as a professional dancer anymore?
I could. I just haven't really gone through that rigorous training.
Oh, you have
to
to train again because you use some
Yeah.
of the skills. Because
Yes.
your body has like it's like a muscle. You have
Yeah.
to train.
And also since I broke those ligaments,
Yeah.
there's a lot of small muscles that I really have to build on top of that. And I was honestly doing that before I went to my university. But then when I was there, school kind of got in the way of that. So now my ankle is weak again. I mean, it's not injured, thank God,
Yeah,
but it's not as strong as it was before I went to school.
I see. And I mean, like, so for those dancers, some of them they probably would have just ended their career, right? Going through injuries like that.
Yeah.
Uh, what kind of like exit opportunities for dancers, generally speaking? What would they do? Because you retire at such a young age
Yeah.
as well, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like have you noticed like are you still in touch with your dancer friends?
I am. I am. I'm in touch with some of my friends. I know some friends have become choreographers.
Right.
I have another friend. She does gyrotonics, gyrokinesis. I have another friend that's building an agency. Well, she's still dancing actually.
Yeah.
But eventually, I think that will become her main career. And then I also have friends like myself that kind of went left field.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you get to experience something else because you were like,
Exactly.
yeah, already achieved. You have achieved a lot at such a young age. Now you get to
Yeah.
have a second career.
Exactly. I
Right.
actually saw one of my friends this morning who recently just took the LSAT because she wants to become a lawyer.
Right.
So there's a lot of us going many different directions.
And so for someone you said you started like late compared to most of your peers, you still
Yeah.
made it as a professional dancer.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for those who started late? What would you tell them?
You have to work harder than your friends. Fortunately, like when your friends go home at 8 o'clock after class, you have to stay in the studio. You have to stay there and work so hard. Every little thing that you think that you'll fix tomorrow, you have to try to fix today because you may not have it tomorrow to have time for that. And you have to work a lot harder. You have to be very, very focused and to still enjoy the moment though, even though it is hard to still find the love within it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about like how many hours were you dancing? Do you remember
So
when you're
much.
training?
Um, I would dance between 8 to 12 hours a day. I mean, we would have a lunch break, but yeah, about that. It's a lot.
Oh my goodness. It's really a full-time job.
Yeah. So if you don't get paid like a full-time job, unfortunately.
So like now you're like just moved back to LA from Santa Barbara. What are your favorite place to go, hang out?
Oh
Like
my God.
cafes, restaurant.
My favorite places, the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, this sun. I mean, now that it's fall and it's a little cold to go to
Uh-huh.
the beach, but I went to the beach at least minimum once a week this summer.
Awesome. What are your favorite spots? Beach spots?
I love Will Rogers State
Yeah,
Beach.
yeah.
It's just it's kind of close to where I live.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not that close, but closer than the other beaches. I also have friends that live. Most of my friends honestly live on the west side, so this is a good place to go. I also like the Annenberg because there's like a nice restaurant there, and it's just a nice clean beach.
Right.
Basically, the Palisades beaches I really
Yeah.
like. Malibu's a little bit far for me, so I like the Palisades.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
Yeah.
So like what are the new things new activities you discovered since you moved back?
Um, I love to paint. I guess I kind of discovered that when I was in college.
Okay.
To relieve stress, I paint a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
So I just like sit and space out, listen to music while I paint.
That's awesome. So do you
Yeah.
do it like what's your medium?
I don't know. I've kind of tried everything.
Yeah. Well, what are you doing now? What do you enjoy the most right now?
Right now I just tried to learn how to paint a man.
So you're in the portraits.
Yes, stage. Yes, because I was really learning how to do like animals and landscapes for a while, and also just like some avant-garde squiggles and things.
Yeah.
But painting people is so hard, and I also like, just out of college, so I'm using like cheap acrylics. So,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
so it's interesting, and so it's quite the it's a hard experience, but I love it.
Yeah. I mean like do you what would you say your favorite place to a favorite neighborhood in Los Angeles?
Oh, that's so hard to live or hang out.
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Um, I honestly love so many different parts. I love like I always feel safe in Brentwood, which is nice because like there are parts in the valley where I live where I actually don't feel as safe. But I love Brentwood because it's like so safe and there's a lot of like little shops to go to, and I mean honestly, same with Santa Monica. They're right next to each other.
Yeah.
I love how you can just like walk out your door and you have a coffee shop.
Right. Oh, by the way, right now for the audience, we are at La La Land Kind Cafe in Santa Monica. It explains the background music.
Yeah.
It's always packed, especially at the weekend.
Yeah.
That's one of the new cafes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they have
yeah.
like 5, 6 locations in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening. It's good for people watching.
Yes. But I also love West Hollywood. I think I love it more too. As much as I'd love to live there, it's just like it's not as I think well protected
Right.
as Brentwood is.
Depends on where you are.
Yeah, that's
West
true. If you're in the mountains.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Hollywood
closer up.
Hills.
Yeah, the Hollywood Hills. It's a lot harder to have perpetrators, but
Yeah, and also like a lot of celebrities, they have mansions there. They
yes,
overlook the
that's
entire.
true.
Yeah, Hollywood.
But there's just so many restaurants in West Hollywood and shops to go to that
Yeah.
I absolutely love.
Yeah, the other day we went to Catch, which they have like a
Yes.
it was like one of the most popular brown space like places in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today, Michelle.
course.
Yeah, look
Thank you,
forward to the
Joy.
next time.
Me too.